introductions in a little bit, but I do want to note that we have Inspector Heimers here from Oxford joining us today and supporting the team. And we'll get to the other folks here when they get to their presentations, but we have, we got to get all the titles right. Acting Staff Sergeant Vander Tuin and PC Murphy also joining us today as well. So it's great that they're able to be here. Okay, without further ado, we have a couple of things with our agenda today. As we noted, Acting Inspector McTaggart is on course, and so we had to get some rejigging here of our agenda for him to be able to not miss too much. So we're gonna amend the agenda so that he can go first once we're done some of the recognition things that we're here to do this morning with some of our folks. And then we'll proceed with the agenda as regularly scheduled, but we just wanted to be able to make sure that everybody knows we're going to do that first. So without further ado, we'll have a motion then to approve the agenda, please. Mayor Bailey, seconded by Member Boudreau. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interests? None? Thank you. Okay, so our first thing on the agenda is we want to take some time here to recognize the community safety groups, the Brant North, Brant East, and the Paris community safety groups. There's been a lot of changes over the past year, not only with the Detachment Board, we used to be called the Police Service Board, now we're the O.P.P Detachment Board. The Community Safety Policing Act has made some significant changes to how O.P.P boards especially are managed and how we do things. And one of those items was insurance and more separation between the municipality and the boards. And like every other O.P.P board, and I'm sure Inspector Heimers can talk about similar challenges in Oxford in terms of what they've gone through, but you know, we've had to adapt and change. And one of those evolutions is the community safety groups no longer have that place under the Act and the regulations. And while the work is much appreciated, it's also time that we have to respect what we're required to do, and for that reason, we're winding up the community safety groups, but that doesn't mean the work is not going to be done. I want to just take a minute to thank each and every one of you for the time. I know some of you have spent a lot of time on the groups, and some of you are maybe newer to the groups. And the Brant East group was just getting started. The intentions and the volunteer time that you contributed is greatly appreciated by everybody, and the relationships that you had with the community and promoting community safety. No one can underscore the importance of that. They say that volunteers, we all know the famous quote, volunteers do not necessarily have the time, they have the heart. And so all of you, I just want to recognize you for your volunteer to your community and to the work that you do. We're going to just do a little bit of a presentation, and we had a little bit of a reception here ahead of time, but we have some certificates that we'd like to acknowledge each of you with. And I also would like to just take a moment to acknowledge some of the O.P.P officers that have also contributed their time and energy over the past towards these groups. Today we have PC Murphy with us. Also Paris would be familiar with PC Gagnon. Most recently, Brant East was working with PC Fitzpatrick. St. George was working with PC Vitalis most recently. And of course, there's many other officers that would have contributed over the time to that as well. So we also want to acknowledge their contributions. So I'm just going to go up to the podium, and I know not everybody is here today, but I would like to just acknowledge everybody, and we'll go from there. Okay, so some of our folks that aren't here today, we will, Spencer's going to work with them to get their certificates mailed out to them so that they'll still be able to receive them. There is unfortunately no one here today from Brant East, but I just would like to read out their names just so that those that are watching the broadcast of the meeting today are still able to see that they've been recognized, and perhaps they're at home as well. So from Brant East, the chair was Paul Lubbock, Secretary Joan Gatwart, Esther Charlton, Marlene DeBoer, Tricia Givens, Janet Brown, and John Baselian. So thank you to each of those for stepping up and for volunteering for your community. So then for Brant North, St. George, Glen Morris, Hairston kind of area there. Thank you very much. I just want to acknowledge, not everybody's here today, but I'll just read everybody out and then we're going to call you up individually with their certificates. And then at the very end, we're going to do a big group picture with everybody and our photographer will get us all organized when that time comes. So I just want to recognize Kim Cinco as our chair. Yeah. Yep. I'll have you come up in a minute. Megan Witteveen is vice chair. Shirley Stephen as secretary. Doug Little as treasurer. Merle Emmerman. Victoria Scott Garba, Karen Varga. Heather Morrison. Corinne Legere. And Tom Butterworth. And then from our Paris group, we had Chair Edith Stone, Patrick Brooker, Shirley Simons, Danny Tevez, Ken Burkett, Pauline Burkett, Ruth Longdon, Wendy Reed, and Christina Austin. Now I know there's many, many more people that have served on these committees from previous years, but these are the most recent active members, and so I do want to say thank you to each of you for all of your time and commitment. Now if we will just do this, we have some certificates here. I'm going to start with, I'll ask that Mayor Bailey and Acting Staff Sergeant Vandertoon and Vice Chair Jim Brown come up and help me with this. We'll have a little bit of a line. So we'll start with the one person that's here. We wanted to do a little bit of an extra recognition for the chairs for each of the groups. And unfortunately, Edith's away right now, so we'll have a similar type of recognition for her at a later date. But I want to recognize Kim for her leadership, going above and beyond the call of duty per se. I don't know how to take that. We have a little extra something for Kim. Do you want all of us in the pictures or just, yeah? Oh. Kim, I know your group is really appreciative of all the work that you've done, and I've been able to work with you on the bike rodeo in St. George, and it's been a pleasure working with you, and appreciate all your time and commitment to making the Brant North group as successful as what it was. Like I said, we will also be acknowledging Edith at a later date once she's back, but she was on holidays today, so unfortunately can't do the same thing for Paris, but we know that Edith also, over 30 years, made such a contribution to the Paris Community Safety Group as well, so we'll find another date for her as well. So the next one on our list is Megan Witteveen. We don't need pictures of every single one. We don't need pictures of every single one. Do we have time to individually do pictures of everybody, or do we just do the one group photo?
You're talking everybody?
No, yeah, like. No, I think we'll just go to the group photo. Yeah, that's okay. I don't want to.
Yeah, it takes long.
Yeah. I don't believe Doug is. No, Doug's not here today, so we will put Doug aside for now. Merle Ammerman. Yes, we'll do pictures. No, we'll get that. We'll get that after, just to keep things going. Victoria Scott McGarver. Apologies if I didn't say the McGarver. McGarva, thank you. Karen Varga. There's some people here that. Just to do a little flippy do here. Corinne Leger. That got all the St. George group. Okay, thank you. And then with the Paris group, then Patrick Brooker, sorry, excuse me. Patrick Brooker. My apologies. No, no. Yeah. Your certificate's right there. I don't think he's here. Ken Burkett, nope, he's not here, okay. Pauline Burkett, nope, okay. Ruth Longden, perfect. And Christina Austin. So congratulations and thank you very much to each of the community volunteers. I know that you'll still continue to volunteer in your respective communities. Once you have the volunteer blood in you, you don't stop. And I know that we'll see you on other things, in other organizations and other things. So at this time, I think we're all just going to move to the front and do a nice big group picture. I'll let the photographer organize us. So thank you everybody for that. Folks from the groups, you're welcome to stay for the meeting, of course, and and listen in, and but we'll carry on here with our agenda once I figure out where I'm at on my agenda. So now we're going to move, because of our changes, we're going to move right to 7.1 on the agenda and do the Detachment Commander's Report. And we have Acting Inspector McTaggart joining us by Zoom for that. So over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, first off, I just want to personally thank the community safety groups from Brant Command. I want to extend a heartfelt thanks to each of you for your incredible contributions. Your hard work, dedication, and collaborative spirit have made a significant impact, and it wouldn't have been possible without all of you. So on behalf of Brant Command, thank you for all your contributions to your respective groups. Moving ahead to the Detachment Commander Report, I'll start with the motor vehicle collisions. So for the month of January, we had 1 fatality, 10 personal injury collisions, and 74 property-related collisions for a total of 85. Looking at that overall from last year at this time, we have a reduction of approximately 15% there. Moving ahead to the criminal code and provincial statute charges. For the month of January, under the criminal code, we laid 26 charges, 17 criminal code charges, traffic related, 659 Highway Traffic Act charges, and 43 charges under the other violations for a total of 745. In relation to the increase in the Highway Traffic Act charges over this time last year, I want to draw the board's attention to 2 members that are currently in the traffic management unit. In January, we renewed the contract with 2 new members from last year. Those 2 members currently are Constable Chris Parker, who has been in this unit before, and Constable Bill Hall. Both of them bring respective experience to the role. Chris's dedication to traffic enforcement is not lost upon everyone here. Everyone's well familiar with Chris and his dedication to that. Bill Hall brings a different skill set. His contributions are centered towards commercial motor vehicle enforcement. So with us having our 400 series highways, as well as the number of commercial motor vehicles that are traveling on our highways on a daily basis, we are very blessed to have Bill and his skill set representing the county in regards to traffic safety there. So those numbers themselves, between the 2 of them, they laid 428 charges themselves between the 2 of them. So that would indicate the increase in numbers we're seeing over last year. And then if you break those traffic-related charges down even further, under our big 4, which are speeding, seatbelt, impaired, and distracted driving. Speeding, we had 338, seatbelt 6 charges, impaired driving 11, and distracted driving 2. If I move along to our violent crime rates, we had 1 sexual offense, 10 assaults/firearm-related offenses, 8 offenses under the other involvement tab involving violence and threat and violence, and for a total of 19. And under the assault tab, I reported on 10 occurrences versus 3 this time last year. I looked closer into that as well. And of all those are all level 1 assaults, so a minor assault in our world, violence nonetheless. Of those 10, 5 criminal charges were laid, and the other 5 were deemed cleared otherwise, either through insufficient evidence or other means where charges were not warranted. In relation to property crime, we had 2 break-and-enters, 6 occurrences involving a theft over $5,000, 10 with the theft under $5,000, possession/trafficking stolen goods. We had 13, and 1 mischief for a total of 32. So I want to draw some attention to the fraud component, because this time last year we had 22. There is currently an initiative in West Region that has been termed or branded an Integrated Fraud Awareness and Response Initiative, and for the region. And what that is spearheaded by our Economic Crime and Corruption Unit to offer investigative suggestions and feedback to support our officers on the front line. So I feel this initiative has contributed to our reduction in frauds, and hopefully will do so in the continuing months to allow us to continue in the right direction to not only support our members investigating these incidents, but also provide some education to the public as well. In relation to drug crime, we had 2 trafficking-related occurrences in January 2025, and those occurrences were handled by our Community Safety and Street Crime Unit. Under the other crime occurrences, again, I'm trying to determine exactly what classifies the other crime occurrences. I'm looking into that for the board in case there's an inquiry there. I'll hopefully have an answer for you. But we had a total of 15 occurrences classified as other. And then under our unfounded category, total of 6 occurrences. And again, for the board's information, the unfounded category is determined that it has not happened. Public complaints, we had 1 for the month of January, and that came from the Inspectorate of Policing. So the Ontario Inspectorate of Policing is a policing oversight in Ontario, and they provide accountability in policing sector, operating as at an arm's length from the government. They provide regulatory oversight to ensure compliance with the Community Safety and Policing Act and its regulations, which came into effect of April 1st of 2024. So our complaint that we received from the inspectorate, we did provide or do some fact finding into it, and then in turn provided a fulsome report back to the inspectorate with our findings, and we are awaiting a reply and decision on that. We had no youth charges for January 2025. Our Mental Health Act occurrences, we had a total of 33 for the month of January. And if I'm just going to refer to our Community Mobilization Officer, PC Murphy, who provided this report to me, our MCERT worker responded to 12 of those crisis calls, and 21 COAST referrals were created as a result as well. There was 10 apprehensions, and 7 were admitted to hospital, and 3 released. Total time in the emergency room was 16 hours and 15 minutes times 2 officers. The mean time was 2 hours and 19, and total time in the emergency room ranged from 29 minutes to 5 hours and 44 minutes. Again, that's 2 officers. I can update the board that the SolGen has reviewed the MOU that O.P.P, Brantford Police, and Six Nations, as well as the Brantford Hospital, have put together to try to streamline some of these challenges we're seeing with wait times. The SolGen provided some additional advice from their end that we have also sent to our policing partners for review. So I'm very optimistic we are going to see an MOU that meets all the requirements of all the needs of our policing partners in the very near future. And then in turn, then at that point, we then can focus on the education piece and training so that we can move forward and hopefully reduce those wait times that we're seeing currently in our hospitals. So breaking down the mental health occurrences, 9 of them were attempted threat, suicide, 1 domestic related, 1 family dispute, 20 again were mental health specifically. 2 of them regarded police assistance, which added up to those 33. And like I said, with mental health, some of it is driven by the economy and people's ability to cope and manage, as well as it would be stressed upon me that seasonal affective disorder also has a factor in this. We just finished the Christmas holiday season, which in itself brings its own challenges. here we are in a new year, January, February, and weather is bleak. Winter's been traditionally our traditional winter we're seeing that we haven't seen years past. So I think a lot of this is contributing to people's ability to cope and deal with mental health. We did not have any overdose occurrences for January, which is very fortunate for us. Referrals to victim services, we had 54 referrals in January 2025, and 15 of those were accepted. And if I'm going to refer a little more to our specific unit here in Brant regarding our CEO, which I talked about before, as a new branding for our well-being team, which consists of our school resource officer, our media officer, and community mobilization officer. They're going to be called CEOs. PC Vitalis is filling in for our school resource officer. So for the month of January, he reported on 51 involved occurrences with our youth, ranging from criminal code, provincial offenses, domestic disputes, mental health, and then the police assist calls. Fortunately, we did not charge any of those used criminally, as I reported. But there was 6 Highway Traffic Act charges laid, 3 warnings, and then 2 apprehensions of youth. Constable Vitalis has been very active at the Paris District High School, and he attended with several officers doing a lockdown drill. He also assisted with a bullying incident at the St. George German School, as well as dealt with 3 incident images calls for service at the high school. And he's also arranged 2 assemblies for online safety for the grade 9 and 10 students. And finally, he also attended the Holy Family Sacred Heart in Mount Pleasant Public Schools to deliver the O.P.P Kids program. In relation to media, which is performed by PC Buchert, he released 20 media releases, 35 posts to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and also put together several pre-plunge videos that are leading up to our 2025 Polar Plunge for Special Olympics, which is taking place on March 6th at the Wayne Gretzky Center in Brantford. I myself did a pre-plunge last week, so that may make its way onto social media. I don't know. But again, very supportive of this cause. And then finally, Crime Stoppers. As the board knows, PCD McIntosh has taken on the Crime Stoppers position for the O.P.P. And in January, 12 tips were distributed to us through the O.P.P, 52 to Brantford Police, and 2 to Six Nations. And that, I believe, sums up the Detachment Commander's report, unless there's any questions from the board.
Thank you very much, Acting Inspector McTaggart. That was very good. I know we'll have questions, and I know we'll have some discussion. I can feel it. So anybody, I know we can count on Councillor Pierce for a couple of questions, but anybody before in the room? I guess I will just start by highlighting when I was reading the report, to see mental health occurrences double from last year to this, like January of last year, 17, January of this year, 33. And to your point, I guess, about people in crisis and people in need, I guess it's just a concerning trend, I guess, to note this time. Mayor Bailey?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the report. The 51, I think you said, referrals from Penny McVicker at Victim Services. Was that for the county and the city, or just the county?
Through the chair, Mayor Bailey, that is just for the county.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair, through you. And thanks to Acting Inspector Taggart there. He answered a couple of my questions in regards to the with the number of Highway Traffic Act and that sort of thing. So that just tells me that PC Parker and PC Hall have got to stay on that job forever and ever, because they're definitely getting it where it counts. So I appreciate that. One question I do have, though, if we go to page, just bear with me, you answer my questions on that. So if we go to page, pardon me, let me get rid of that. I believe it's page 18 of the report. When it talks about daily activity reporting patrol hours, if we see with the patrol hours for January of 2025 compared to the last few years, we're up considerably. And if you take that, 1,667.50 hours, and you divide that by 24, that's about that's almost 70 days, 70 days of patrol cruiser. I'm just trying to understand what constitutes the patrol cruiser activity reporting. Is that a constable actually driving around in the county looking for things, or is that just the number of hours potentially they could be sitting somewhere doing reporting, just watching for things? How is that constitute? What would suggest the 1,667 hours? Is that actually patrolling around the streets of the county?
Through the chair, thank you, Councilor Pierce. The service delivery model, which is now the way that we are directing our members' daily activities on a day-to-day basis, is providing a better avenue for our members to score our time correctly. And I feel that this is a really good point or piece for me to deliver to the board in the coming months on how the service delivery model works. And that so all of you have a good understanding on how our members are, first of all, classifying their time and breaking up their days so that we are capturing all of those pieces of information that traditionally we have had difficulty doing so in the past. So I think moving forward under the daily activity reporting, you're going to see a lot more directed numbers in some of those categories that traditionally we have not done well in. So speaking to your point about the classification of cruiser patrol, that can be many things, but like I said, it does break it down into those different patrol types, of which foot patrol, school patrol are included in that. So cruiser patrol, if a member is not actually engaged in a call for service, but are doing some proactive community patrols per se or engagement, that is not where we're capturing those numbers. So we are doing, in my opinion, a far better job under our new delivery model in capturing what we're doing on a day-to-day basis than we ever have before. So I feel that there's an opportunity for me to present this to the board moving forward and showing exactly to the board what this delivery model entails.
Okay, that's great. And as I say, I think you understand where I'm coming from, seeing these numbers and seeing the feedback from the community that the O.P.P is visible out there. That's huge, and that's something that we'll call in the history. It was one of the complaints that we got is the fact that we don't see them. Well, as I've always said, the numbers don't lie. So here's the numbers. So if we could get to exactly what you're talking about there, the breakdown of here's the hours and here's what that entails, and not necessarily as we all know. O.P.P can't be everywhere all the time, and we all appreciate that. But this is it's good to see the number of hours go up with the foot patrol as well. That's great to see. So I appreciate that and look forward to those breakdowns on those reports. If we could just go to actually, I guess that's it for your report. The next one's on false alarms. So I appreciate this, and I know I've said it before. I love this the new way of reporting that's come across. The information is all there, and it's great for those that want to see it. It's there and it's available, and that's what we need. So I appreciate everything you guys do as usual, and thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pierce. Member Boudreau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to McNiger, please. It's on the same page, page 18. It's actually related to the public complaint and the conduct. And I understood, and I actually understand the process of going back to the inspector of policing. What I don't know, and probably more so because I'm a newer member, is when this is resolved one way or the other, it's a real complaint or it isn't, how the board and the public actually gets informed of it ultimately being resolved, and that the person or people who did the complaint ultimately gets some sort of resolution as to what's there. So if you can maybe just speak a little bit about the longer term process. So once the inspector has their results, where does it go, and how does the board and the community ultimately find out what's happening with the complaint itself? Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you, Member Boudreau. With the Inspector of Policing, it's my understanding that as of April 1st, 2024, with the new CSP that this came into effect, that we are now answering to public complaints through this format. In regards to resolutions and feedback from the inspectorate on the results of that complaint, this is the first one we've received from our organization involving the inspectorate. And timelines on how long this is going to take, I honestly don't have that information at this point. In regards to how the complaint is resolved, that is something that the detachment would obviously address and deal through internally through our matters. And I don't believe we would report back, but I could definitely look into that, Member Boudreau, and get back to you on that.
Inspector Heimers, do you want to add something on that?
Yeah, if I can just dovetail into Jason's statement. This is just an allegation, first and foremost, right? So if it is resolved, we refer to it as informally because of FIPA. We would never disclose what the response was because of the privacy component of it. If it is substantiated and the member is charged, then that becomes public record, and then the public would know.
Thank you for the clarification. Lots of different ways of things being done, but that's good. Does that answer your question then, Member Boudreau? Yeah. Any other questions or comments about the detachment commander's report? Maybe a quick question about, let me just find the page number. Just for information, on page 22, referrals to victim services. Mayor Bailey started the question, but I guess what is the gap between offering and there's probably a lot of things, and I don't want to assume what they are, offering referrals and accepting referrals? There's such a disparity between the two numbers. What are some of the gaps to that accepting of those referrals?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. When our members offer victim services to individuals in situations such that they would potentially benefit from these services, we are trying to do a better job ourselves in delivering that message. And what I mean by that is often individuals in a state where they are trying to deal with a situation that's presented to them, maybe feel comfort in individuals that are family related versus somebody external. There's a number of factors that might trigger someone's interest in victim services. Through our new domestic abuse investigator role that PC Cotter is taking on, he's assisting us in looking at those situations that potentially victim services can be utilized and doing a better job in follow-up days or a week after the event to see whether that individual would prefer the services at that time. Often when the individual is presented with a situation, they're overwhelmed at best, and to throw another piece onto their already overflowing plate sometimes loses its impact and effect. But follow-up down the road, be it days or a week later, potentially can trigger them to a point where now they've overcome that initial stressor and that overwhelming life change, and now they've had a chance to absorb that and are potentially looking for other means of support. So I feel we are doing a better job at that, and through our domestic abuse position, I feel that we can accomplish this. It's just a work in progress to try to do a better job at delivering it, and not just at the time, but follow up down the road as well.
Thank you. That helps understand the situations. Any other questions on the detachment commander's report? I know we also have PC Murphy here, and I wasn't sure, Acting Inspector, if you were able to. Oh, sorry, Councillor Pierce. Didn't see your hand there till.
Yeah, no worries, Madam Chair. Just through you, if I could, to Acting Inspector there. As we know, I think we're all on the same page here that we're very, very happy that we got the police presence back in the schools and stuff like that. I'm wondering, has there been any feedback either, from the students or from the staff as to, are they noticing a difference now in, we'll call it overall behavior or anything like that, since we've had that presence back in the school? Because, as I've said for years, that was a huge thing for the students to be able to, have that almost friendship with the whoever is on site at that time, and the trust. And that's the big thing when you get into the the high school years and stuff like that. It's all about trust, and that was a huge thing for many years in our high school. Just the trust that went both ways. And it was a huge asset. I'm just wondering, has there been any feedback since they've been back into the schools that, thank you, or, we're not even a thank you, but, we're glad you're back. We see a difference that, this is a proven thing that works.
Through the chair, Member Pierce, yes, so the public school board was very welcoming of us coming back, especially in the primary grades, grade 1 to 8. High school, we had a bit more challenges with, because traditionally most of our calls for service are directed at the high school. But I can tell you through several calls for service at the high school, our response and the way we dealt with those matters has greatly impacted and reinforced those relationships that we've had with not only with the students, but with the staff at the schools. So I believe we've made those inroads once again back into the high school, predominantly where we do see a lot of our calls for service, and are gaining the trust of not only the students, but also the staff, which makes our job a whole lot easier, as you can imagine.
Absolutely. Well, that's great news. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Member Brown?
Madam Chair, through you to Councillor Pierce, I was at a function about 3 weeks ago, and I had very positive comments about our police presence back in the high school. The parents felt more comfortable. I'm not sure about the kids, but the parents certainly did, and I'm sure that's a reflection of the kids. So I think it's a really good thing that we are back there and doing what we're doing.
Thank you for that. And if I may, Madam Chair, I know I'm just speaking of Paris High at the time right now, but I know there's a lot of, I'm going to call them, 25 to 32, 33-year-old adults in our community now that still talk about having that presence and that camaraderie and the trust when they went through high school. So it's definitely something that was a positive influence, and I am so happy that it's back. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions, clarifications? We also have a presentation and update from PC Murphy, and I wasn't sure, Acting Inspector McTaggart, if you wanted to stay as part of that. I didn't know what your timelines were like for your time here today, or if you want us to conclude with you.
Madam Chair, if you wouldn't mind, I'm more than willing to stay and participate. I know I do have demands that I'm conflicting here on training, and I don't want to miss too much of those opportunities, but I'm more than willing to stay if the board requests.
Are we good then to allow, like, we don't have any other questions for Acting Inspector McTaggart at this time? Let him get back to his training. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in person at the March meeting. Good luck with your training.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I thank you to the board for allowing me this opportunity.
Mayor Bailey?
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, to receive his report for information.
Thank you. Seconded by Member Brown. All those in favor? That's carried. So we'll turn it over now to PC Michelle Murphy to give a little bit of a presentation on some of the work that she's doing. Moving forward, we're going to look at different meetings in the future for different parts of the services that are provided to the community by O.P.P. And so
PC Murphy gets to be the first one today, but also topical because there's a number of things that she's working on as well. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. It's nice to be able to come and talk about what I'm doing as opposed to just reading it on paper in my report every month. So it's nice to be able to come and meet everybody. I'm, as I said, Constable Murphy. I've been an officer for over 29 years and been in Brant since 2020. So I haven't been here a super long time, but long enough to see the great resources and opportunities that we have in the county. And since being in this community mobilization role since 2021, I've been able to meet a lot of the different stakeholders within the county. So it's been interesting to see the differences from where I came from in Oxford to Brant here. So the community mobilization officer, as my inspector or staff, acting inspector had said, the role's slightly been split now with our new DVI position, which Detective Constable Cotter is in. I used to oversee a lot of the IPV occurrences, and then I also work with our crisis worker and deal on the back side of things with our mental health calls for service. So I'm kind of a support in the back end for our frontline officers because I work Monday to Friday. I have the time and the ability to take that extra time and look into a lot of the situations. So I look at proactive and reactive ways that we can assist the people in need in our community. I work closely with our crisis workers. So we have the mobile crisis response team, which is myself and Emily, and she's with SOAR, and she works hand in hand with our officers responding to any of our mental health crisis roles or calls for service that we have. And then together, she works with the officer on the call for the best outcome for that call. And then afterwards, she and I will work together to look at what other resources and actions can best help the people that were in need. If for some reason she's not on the call because it's middle of the night or it's weekends when she's not working, I'll go through our calls for service and look at what officers have done. And then we work together to, again, look for other ways to assist. When she needs to do any follow-up, which we can go to the person's house and spend some time with them and do like a really fulsome connection to services, I'm able to take her and do that. And then that takes the road officers out of the equation to where they can be back out on patrol and they don't have to spend their time doing that. And I can also do relief at the hospital when we've had apprehensions so that road officers can get back to what they're doing and we can be there and then advocate for the person that we've brought into the hospital. So my role also allows for attendance at a lot of different committee meetings and community wraparound and resources. So that's nice too. I get to dive right into that and then bring that back to the road, share the information with the officers, as well as Emily and I work with these different organizations and committees and use what they're doing to bring back to the people on the road. So, and when we say a crisis call, it's pretty broad because what's a crisis to you might be different than a crisis to me, right? So there's a lot out there that we can bring to people in the county that they're really not aware of. So that's a bonus for the county, the people in the county to have these options and services brought to them. The role that I play allows for a lot of collaboration for information sessions when community issues arise. So through the past few years, we've done anti-human trafficking presentations to the community, internet safety, fraud presentations, whatever we're seeing, like maybe a spike in calls for service for, we'll then create something and try and put it out there. We've collaborated with Nova Vita, Victim Services, and the school boards to do these presentations. Some have been in person and some have been virtual. Wouldn't say virtual really worked very well, but that seems to be the way of the world. We like to be in person to where we can actually spend the time talking with people and get a feel for that. So the community connections is an important piece to the community mobilization role, or it's changing now, as my acting inspector had said, but the job isn't changing. It's just the name that's really changing. These collaborations, I find a lot of people aren't aware of the services and that are out there, and us being able to join these committees and go to these meetings that happen, we can then share what people aren't aware of. I find that, people in the county aren't always aware of what's available because it's always in the Brantford. It's in the city and not everybody can get there. And I like to be able to advocate for people in the county that, have transportation issues or have situations that make it difficult for them to get into the city to obtain the services. So how can we bring those services to them, and how can we make, the county kind of central for services too? So that's kind of something that Emily and I are always looking at and working on with the different committees. That's, as I said, I liaise with social services on behalf of officers. So, they've been dealing with something at 2 a.m. They've gone home, and I'm in, and I can do a lot of follow-up in that for them. So in relation to the victim services question as well, I can look at a situation, and sometimes you can recognize through an officer's report that it was pretty high stress, and maybe that person didn't understand what was being offered to them. So I'll give them a call again the next day and just talk a little bit more in depth and offer it again. And a lot of times with, time and distance, they realized, what, I do need to take on those services, and that would be really helpful for me. So we kind of try and do another little extra push to try and get them the resources. So not just with victim services, but Nova Vita resources as well. A lot of times people don't really understand what those two agencies do. So taking the extra time to talk about that is important. We also work with Safe Beds, and what Safe Beds has been able to bring to us as officers dealing with, people in such need on the road, then created our golf tournament where we support them in the work that they do. And I just think that's another important piece to the collaborations that we have. And it brings everybody together. And if you've ever been involved in the golf tournament, it's a fun day, and we have a lot of fun raising money for a really good organization and a good piece for us. This role allows me to create workshops and events that promote the O.P.P and everything we have to offer. We're not just, out there writing tickets. We actually can, do a lot of proactive community engagement as well. This role also threw me into writing grants, which has been a very interesting piece of policing that I never knew I'd be involved in. And so far we've had 3 successful grants, 2 of which created partnerships with Nova Vita and Victim Services, where we were able to bring a lot of resources to the community, and a lot of them, like Nova Vita, we had a transitional support worker, and then that's carried on past the grant. They've been able to fund that. So any of our IPV victims have that ability to access transitional support through Nova Vita and to give them more resources carrying on and more assistance. And Victim Services, they're in our office. They have an office out in our front office. They're there 3 days a week. And that's been a great partnership as well. We because we have situations where people are coming in and we're dealing with them right in the office, and we can just walk them and hand them off right to victim services for that assistance. So that's been a great piece too. I've been media trained forever, so I complete my own media releases and posts when necessary. So I'm also a backup to our media officer, Constable Buchert, when needed for any of those situations. In talking about the grants, we're actually in our third year of a 3-year grant, the Community Safety Policing Grant. And Constable Vitalis and I wrote that grant. It was our first grant, and it was a huge learning curve for us, but it was successful, and we get $98,000 a year to what we have created for traffic safety. That was our main thought when we wrote the grant, and the Safe Streets program is already up and running, so we're like, why don't we just, piggyback on that, and police and the county work together that way. So we've jumped on the community concerns about traffic safety, and have done a number of different things within the grant to work on getting traffic safety messaging out. We've created traffic safety and information videos that we use in any of our presentations that we do to the community, but we've also put them online. And if you follow us on social media, we've posted a lot of those. So, they can range from how to properly use a traffic circle to crosswalks to motorcycle safety, all the things that we see the complaints about. We have also, through the grant, been able to do extra speed enforcement patrols specific to the identified troubled areas. So not the highway at all, just specifically in the county. So you have your regular officers working in the day, but then on top of that, officers that have come in specifically to do these dedicated traffic enforcement pieces. We've created a senior traffic safety workshop where we did traffic and driving laws. They were highlighted, and we had officers from our traffic units come in and speak. And we also put in some frauds and personal safety in that workshop as well. We did a period of time where we used the billboards throughout the county to promote the Safe Streets program. And just from the uptick in traffic complaints coming in during our billboard time, I felt like that was a real win for the Safe Streets program, and people actually using it to funnel their complaints through, and then we could use that then to spend some time on those areas again where the complaints seem to be coming from a little bit more. We were able to purchase radar and laser radar units, our LiDAR units, so that every cruiser is equipped and the county is covered no matter what cruiser is out there, no matter what officer is out there. And that's been a really good piece for the officers. We've been able to send officers on traffic related workshops just for an extra piece of learning. One of our big purchases, which has been quite fun for everybody, is we purchased impaired and distracted driving simulating goggles that assist with our don't drink and drive messaging. We were able to take those goggles to the Paris Fair last fall and engage with everybody that went by. So it didn't matter the age. They were right in there trying on these goggles, and the goggles allow for you to, obviously don't get the body impairment, but you get the visual impairment and what that's like from different levels. And then it created a lot of conversation, and we found that was like a really great way to get messaging across, even when maybe people weren't realizing the messaging we were trying to get across. So that's been great. And those goggles can be they're taken in the schools and used there as well. So that's been a piece that's going to stay with us for a long time after the grant is done. We're doing a anti-human trafficking workshop specific to our road officers, and that's going to be in March. This is going to give them training and information on human trafficking, and you might wonder what that has to do with traffic, but our officers that are out there stopping vehicles and meeting people, this will give them the tools and the signs to look for, because we're on a 400 series highway here. Human trafficking is happening everywhere, and the more information we have and the more tools we have, hopefully the more we can put into trying to stop this and stop it from being so prevalent in our communities. So we have a Crown attorney from London, Heather Palin, who is going to be speaking. She's the designated human trafficking Crown in the area, and she's going to come and talk with officers and give them, law updates, as well as just different tools for them for their any charges and notes and court pieces moving forward. We also have a Crown attorney from Waterloo, Simon McNaughton, who will be talking about asset forfeiture, which, if you're not familiar with that, that's taking away, disrupting the criminal activity and taking what these assets are that are allowing them to do the criminal activity. So if they have a traffic stop and it's recognized that human trafficking is happening here, they can take that car, they can take those electronics, the things that are allowing that person to do this criminal activity. So it's not something that we deal with often as road officers, and so that information will be important for them moving forward. Just have that in your back pocket, because you never know what you're going to come up against. We also are lucky to have a human trafficking survivor who will come and give her life story. She is now working for Victim Services with York Region and works with York Region Police in their human trafficking unit, and goes on calls for service and does all that support for the survivors that they have there. So I've heard her speak, and it's very interesting, and it's interesting to hear what officers said to her that finally made her decide to get the help that she needs and get out of the situation that she'd been put in. So far we have over 50 officers registered for this workshop, and it's, again, we don't always get a lot of this type of training, so it's nice to be able to share that with surrounding detachments. Last on something that we're super proud of in relation to this role is our Brant O.P.P Youth Academy. So during our time of not being able to be in the public schools, we recognized that we needed to find a different way to do youth engagement. So we created this youth academy, and it's for youth in grade 10 to 12 or the Victory Lap year to come and see the different areas within the O.P.P, the different options that we have, but not just uniform, because we bring in civilian, and we have, a lot of different opportunities through cadet and special constables now as well. So we give them a good view of what the O.P.P has to offer, and they get to hear presentations. We do it for 8 weeks, and they get to hear presentations from all different units, but it also gives us an opportunity to engage with them every week and build those relationships. We only take 20 students so that we can be very hands-on and get them moving and involved. It's not just like they're sitting in class and being lectured to. They're actually up and moving and getting their hands dirty, really. And we have had great response from our officers in the detachment who have like come directly to us saying, I want to be involved in this. What can I do? Where can I help? So that's been great that, you know, officers are wanting to talk about what they've been through, and we have so many new officers so they can speak to the recruitment process now. And then you have like myself who's been through pretty much everything, all the changes, and we can speak to that as well. So we did, our first year was last year, we had 20 students, and right now we're currently, tomorrow will be our second last of our 8 weeks, so 20 more students. And it's been an extremely positive experience, and the kids are excited every week to come. And they see everything from the day in the life of an officer right up to our true canine unit comes in, and everything in between. So it's been fun and just another exciting way to engage with the youth, and then hopefully they take that information back out and spread it. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I do.
We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Thank you for the very thorough review of some of the things that you get to be involved in. Maybe we'll just open it up for any questions. Did you have a question? Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Member Brown was pointing this way, but what he really was pointing at was the screen. Okay, Councillor Pierce.
Thanks, Madam Chair, through you, and PC Murphy, thank you. That was a big nutshell. That was a lot of information, and greatly appreciated, because you're right. You know, we see it on a report, but the information you just gave us just puts a whole new twist on it. So I appreciate that. Couple questions I have. What I picked up on what you were saying there, and I think you alluded to it a couple of times. The fact that, you know, there's a lot that is available, and a lot that you bring to the county that a lot of people are not aware of. And I know you mentioned a couple things that you're trying to do in order to get that information out there. But if there's anything that, you know, we as a O.P.P. Detachment Board, or I'm putting my counselor hat on here, we as the Brown County Council can help in getting that word out there. I know you talk about your communications team, and we've got a fabulous communications team in the county. If there's anything that we can do to assist on that, please don't hesitate to let us know on that, because you're right. I think there are so many things, and we've talked about it in this meeting many times over the years, that there's a lot of things out there that people aren't aware of. And you spoke about community connections, and that again is huge. And I kind of circle that back into with having the police presence in the high school. To me, that's a connection that's there for life, and the community connection it is key, because it does. There's a lot of people out there through no fault of anybody's, just does not understand the helps, and that's the key word here, the helps that are available for us as a community out there. So again, anything we can do to assist with that, either through this board or through council, please don't hesitate to let us know on that. You also touched briefly on the Safe Beds Golf Tournament. Absolutely. I guess it's 2 years now that this board has participated in that, and both years have been completely sold out. A fantastic day for a fantastic, organization that, if you look at just the name of it, Safe Beds, and that's what it's all about. It's about people feeling safe and being able to use what's available to them. So again, as far as what you just gave us today, I totally appreciate that information. Maybe this is something through you, Madam Chair, that we could, maybe a couple times a year or something like that, just so those that are potentially watching or that are in this spot in the minutes, it definitely puts a whole new perspective on exactly what you and your team do, PC Murphy. Two other things I'm gonna ask here, and I'm not sure who's on the camera in the room today, but if we could, when PC Murphy was talking there, or if we could, whomever's talking, if we could swing the camera over to them so people can actually see who's talking, that would be appreciated. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to circle back to the golf tournament, and I'm just going to make everybody aware that look out next year for the Brant O.P.P. Detachment team, because we did our best ever this past year, and then we're looking to do one up on that next year. So look out, folks. Thank you.
Counselor Pierce is the ringer.
Yeah. No, we know who the ringer is, the inspector, and she's not here today, so we'll leave it at that.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the past couple of years, it's been over $10,000 each year that the tournament has raised for the Safe Feds program, which
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah, and the majority of that will go to their drug fund, for lack of a better word. So when they have people in there that are needing specific medications because they haven't been able to access them or they've left them from wherever they've left, they can do that for them.
So just maybe a quick question on, we talked earlier about the number of referrals made and the number that were accepted. And then you talked about the work you do to follow up with folks. How do we capture, like, it sounds like the numbers are probably a lot lower than immediately, but then when you work with them and connect with them afterwards, you're able to help access services that they might need. So would that be fair to say that that number with the follow-up would actually go of people who accept referrals?
It would be captured in the stats that they've brought to you, because we have a way of reporting through our computer system that will, even if they're accepting the services a day later, we're still putting that in. So yeah, it could actually be low, and then we've bumped it up because we've done this follow up.
So what you're doing is still captured in that.
Yeah, myself and Detective Constable Cotter too on his side of the position now as well. Yeah, and you just know that people in that time of crisis, they're not registering what you're offering them, and so reaching out a second time is a good thing. But also, some of these people are connected already, so it's you're registering it as they're not accepting their victim services, but they're already connected with them from previous calls, right? So
thank you. Is there any other questions for PC Murphy at this time? That was a really great overview, great swath of things, and I think Councillor Pierce, you said it. It's really great to be able to see some of the, behind the house. It's not just the cars out on the road. There's a lot of stuff happening that your team is involved in, and protecting the community and helping the community in need. So that was really educational and helpful. And so we'll hopefully, as Councillor Pierce said, we can have PC Murphy come back and also give a little bit of update, but we'll also have other team members come in from time to time to talk about some of their areas of specialty and some of the things that they focus on as well, just to help us have that breadth and depth of some of the work that they do. So not sure exactly what the next one will be. I know Acting Inspector McTaggart also talked about the delivery service model, which will be helpful. I know Member Boudreau and Member Stryker have already seen that shield thing, but the rest of us haven't, so that'll be helpful to understand some of the priorities and how they're focusing their work. So if there's no further comments or questions, we'll have a motion to also receive PC Murphy's report for information. Member Stryker and Member Boudreau, all those in favor, and that's carried. We're going to circle back up to number 5, where we left off, minutes from the last meeting from January 28th. I'm assuming they've all been reviewed. Motion to approve those minutes, please. Member Brown and Mayor Bailey, thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Any business arising from those minutes? I'd just like to say I wasn't at the last meeting, unfortunately, last minute. I had to be at an announcement for my daytime job, and which was important. But I wanted to thank my fellow board members here for your confidence in electing me chair. I wasn't able to be here, but I appreciate the support and for your confidence in me. So I look forward to the coming year ahead. If no other then we have done 7.1. So I think if I've got myself organized right, we are now at staff reports. So that is the false alarm statistics that's in your package. And I'll turn that over to Cindy Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. So the report in our package today provides the board with overall stats for the year in 2024 and comparing those stats to 2023. Overall, there's a 5% increase in false alarm responses year over year, noting that there was a greater increase in responses in 2024 to repeat properties. As the board is aware, staff and the O.P.P have formed a working group and developed a progressive communications plan to address repeat false alarms, which was approved at the last meeting. So that team is currently working on finalizing a couple of components of that strategy and look forward to implementing that soon. With the hope that implementation of that strategy will result in reduced response to alarms this year, and more specifically to some of those individual repeat properties which have been targeted in that strategy. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Cindy. Any questions about the report or about the next steps? Member Boudreau?
Yeah, just one. It's a bit of follow-up. Actually, I asked. I was curious a couple of months ago, which is just to understand. It's one thing to put out a fine. My question was really related. Do we actually collect the money? And what, especially in these high responders. I mean, if you've got 10 responses, we're talking almost $4,000 in fines, which is only painful if you pay it. So I'm curious how the county actually tracks that, and if an offender doesn't pay, does it end up on the taxes? Does it go into some sort of historical report? Just trying to understand the follow-up so that these individuals are actually feeling the pain of the fine, which is presumably intended to do so. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, I do apologize. That question I do need to follow up on, but I will do that and provide that information as soon as possible.
Yeah, thank you. And in particular, just to get the top ones to start would be great.
You make a good point. It's only a fine if it gets paid.
Correct.
So yeah, you don't feel it the same way. I know working in the city of Guelph, we get letters from city of Guelph Police, and you get 2 strikes and you're out. And if you have an alarm call on the 3rd time, they're not coming. Whether that's right or wrong, that's not my debate, but that's just the messaging that they've kind of been very firm on. But that would be interesting to know, Cindy, if some of the fines are actually being upheld. I know that's a county process in terms of that collections, but if we're not collecting on what we're saying we want to do here, then we're not rewarding. We're rewarding bad behavior. We're not trying to fix the problem, or whatever that. I'm not gonna. Too many analogies. Any other comments or questions? Pierce. Councillor Pierce, of course. Sorry, I just
sure.
see you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So just kind of on the same vein as that. So if we look at the 5 properties there with the 36 false alarms between them, I just want to just confirm here. So as far as our fee, so to speak, so in essence, the 5th and every one after that is $500 each. That is it. I just want to confirm that. I believe that's the case, but I want to confirm that. And then part B of that is exactly where Member Boudreau was going there. So we spoke about kind of a different vein, but there are some people that'll just park the car in a no parking zone and just take the ticket and maybe pay for it, maybe not pay for it. The same type of thing as these. If we look at the response to these false alarms and who's going there and the time that's spent going there, we need to ensure, like Member Boudreau says, that these are actually being paid, and if not, what is the ramifications of that? Is there any additional fees or anything like that? So I know, Cindy, you said you'd take that away, so I look forward to understanding how that goes. And also, we spoke before in regards to the education as to whether it's the actual owner of the facility or the potentially who's ever renting it at the time. I'd like to understand how that works as well, because it's not always the company that is working in a facility that owns that facility. So I'd like to understand again, where does this fine go to, and who are we speaking to? Because let's make a situation here where you've got a building, you've got a business in there that's doing whatever. They get multiple false alarms. We go there, we speak to the people who are running the business out of there, but the owner of that actual building potentially is not aware that this issue is happening. So I just want to make sure that we're actually going to the owner of the building and not necessarily the tenants of the building when we're doing this. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair. So I can confirm, Councillor Pierce, that it is $500 for the fifth and any future responses after that per response. And as noted, I will follow up on those other questions.
Great. If no further discussion, then we'll have a motion to receive that for information. Mayor Bailey, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Pierce. Don't want to forget. I forget to look at the screen, so I don't want to forget. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, communications in our package. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to consider, but the O.A.P.S.B., the Ontario Association of Police Services Board, is doing a call for resolutions. I'm not sure if anybody has any, but one I would throw out there as a possibility is a resolution, and we'd have to get the wording figured out for next meeting, but if you don't think it has any wings, to call on the O.A.P.S.B. to get this business sorted out between the new act and the province with respect to our funds from sale of auctioned items, so that we can continue to keep those in our community, because the way it's written right now, that's not necessarily the case. So I think I've had some good conversations with Lisa Darling, who is the executive director, but I think just putting it on paper and giving that extra little push as a resolution to show that we need to get it. She's indicated that she's had some good conversations with the Solicitor General's office and the ministry, but I haven't seen that come to any kind of resolution, and I don't want us to lose out on the opportunity to retain those funds for our own community. So I would propose, and I can bring it back for the right language in terms of the wording, but if the board thought that was a good idea, I could put some time into that. Sounds good? Okay. And if there was anything else that you thought of, we can always consider it at the next meeting, because the deadline for submissions is May 1st. So if there was other items that we wanted the O.A.P.S.B. to consider as a resolution, we can still consider that as well. We'll go into number 10, updates. Councillor Pierce, any updates from council?
Not at this time, Madam Chair, unless there's anything that committee wishes me to take back.
You guys have had a pretty busy agenda. We're looking forward to having a budget finalized tonight, I suppose, and then we'll know where we stand as well as a board. So looking forward to hearing more about that.
That is the plan.
Maybe at a future meeting we can hear more about how the enforcement cameras are working and how that some of the statistics around that.
Yes, we're looking forward to that as well. We've spoken to Adam on that, and I believe in the next potentially month or so we'll have some data from that.
Great.
Yeah.
So we'll move into then O.A.P.S.B. Zone 4. They had unfortunately I wasn't able to attend with my schedule, but they had a zone meeting down in Niagara last Wednesday. A lot of discussion between within the zone, I guess, in terms of the differences between O.P.P. boards and the municipal boards, and what kind of topics do we feel value. The O.A.P.S.B. would like us to do, some more work on the board development side of things, the governance side of things. There's also some topics that may be of interest. One of the challenges is, municipal some of the municipal suggestions have been more about labor and labor negotiations and things that we don't as O.P.P boards get involved in. So trying to go up a little bit higher on the level and try and find issues that we all have in common for those meetings. The next one will be at the beginning of May, and then in September, I believe, is in Woodstock. May is, I can't remember where May is. So either way, May and September are the two next dates for the Zone 4 joint Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police Zone 4 and Ontario Association of Police Services Board Zone 4. Councillor Pierce?
Yeah, sorry, Madam Chair, if I could just circle back to the when you were talking about the ASCs. And obviously not the County of Brant, but there was a report that came out about a week or so ago in regards to Wellington County, and the Wellington County automated speed enforcement cameras issued over 9,000 tickets in 4 days. So I'm hoping we don't hit those numbers, because that would mean there's many people that are speeding in community safety zones. But I think we're going to be surprised at the amount of tickets that are issued by this, and hopefully that it's things to come in more areas, and just to help the O.P.P in what they're doing, because as we said, they can't be everywhere all the time, and just kind of slow people down. So I just thought I would just throw that in there. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. We'll look forward to hearing more about that. Just from a chair's update, it's been pretty busy. I'll just give you some snapshots. One of the things that Acting Inspector McTaggart and I have been participating in is the Community Safety Wellbeing Planning Committee. So the next version of that. County staff are working really hard to bring that project forward. It's the county's plan. There's a number of different organizations and groups around the table, and it's being led by Brian from the county, and we're going to have him come into a future police service board meeting as well. Most recently, we had a meeting on Friday, and I guess kind of in conjunction with the Detachment Commander's report, there was a number of community service agencies around the table that really spoke to what they're seeing and what they're feeling in terms of community safety well-being. And there was a lot of repeating themes about increased needs for services, increased mental health situations, just a lot of need in some of these organizations. One of the things that we've discussed is the importance of how do we get Brant data versus Brantford Brant, because a lot of those same service agencies would also service City of Brantford clients. So we want to make sure that we have the pulse of what the needs are versus group, because City of Brantford will be doing their own community safety wellbeing plan. So we don't want to overrepresent, but we also don't want to miss anything either from the groups. So a couple of things that I've also noted is that there's a lot of duplication between the groups. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things, and maybe this community safety wellbeing plan is an opportunity to pull some of this together and create some relationships so that we can avoid some of that duplication. Just as an example, one of the things I just remember from the conversations was the health unit. I can't remember their new acronym, but the health unit is doing a crash analysis of Rest Acres Road. And so I asked afterwards, well, why would you guys do a crash analysis of Rest Acres Road? And they're like, oh, well, it's about injuries, and it's about this, and it's about that, and a community group asked us to work on it. And I'm like, well, are you working with Safe Streets Brant? Are you working with the O.P.P? Like, there should be a little bit more collaboration on some of those things, but it just seems strange to me that there was a lot of not just this one, but a lot of groups are doing a lot of things. And I think this community safety wellbeing plan can really pull together some of these service groups that are feeling the pinch of not enough resources, not enough people, not enough money, not enough of a lot of things. And to your point, PC Murphy, I think one of the things that I heard was there's a real concern to make sure that services are available in the county for people from the county that need them, not just having to go into Brantford all the time. And so I heard a lot of the groups talk about how they're trying to get space, wherever that is, or be where people need them, and they're trying to think of different ways to reach people, and how do people know where to go.
one of the things that the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan is doing is they're doing some engagement starting, I believe, next week. There's going to be various pop-ups around the county where they're going to be interacting and using their engagement tools to meet with the community. There's also going to be a survey tool, an online survey tool. If you remember when we did this in 2020 during the pandemic, it was all telephone surveys. This will be an online tool. The county will be promoting that on their socials and then out to their through their Engage Brant platform. So there will be a lot of opportunities for folks to participate, and all the different groups that are around that table will also be able to share and link up with their people as well. I can't predict the outcome, but I really see this plan has shifted from some of the, our first time out there was traffic safety in there, there was some other things in there, and this is more evolving into, youth and seniors, mental health, community supports, some of the helping unhoused people, a number of different things. So it seems to be evolving, which is great to see. So that's one of the things that we are sit on and help to support the county with that. And for us, that becomes part of the Detachment Commander's Action Plan too, the new Community Safety Wellbeing Plan. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. And when we'll have Brian come in and give an update on that to everybody as well, so that everybody's informed of that. Acting Inspector McTaggart talked about the polar plunge. That's March 6th. If you want to come see a bunch of people, I'm not sure, are you jumping again? Yep. Acting staff there is doing the jump again this year. That's March 6th in the afternoon at the Wayne Gretzky Center. And there's been lots on social about that and the Special Olympics program. And as we know, the Special Olympics program is coming to Brantford this summer. On the same day is also that Nova Vita is having their fundraising gala, and PC Murphy's attending, Detective Constable Cotter is attending, I'm attending, Mayor Bailey's attending, so there'll be a number of people there, and I think it's really important that we do that outreach from the O.P.P side. We talked earlier about the trusting relationships and building those trusting relationships with community partners. So I think that's great that we're able to be part of that. And I think I indicated Inspector Quenville's been asked to speak as well at that event. So it'll be good to see that. So same day, March 6th, and that is also celebrating International Day of Women. And then lastly, I just wanted to also acknowledge past member Verhey. We've tried several times to reach out to him, to have him come in to be recognized and for his service to the former Police Service Board. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to connect with him, so we do have a plaque. We do have that available to him, and we will get it delivered to him. We've tried, and busy person. Go ahead, Mayor Bailey.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to take the plaque and take it to him. I go there I see him often, and I could do that for you.
And I think that keeps me busy enough. I'll leave it at that for the chair's update, unless there's any questions. All right, we don't have any in-camera business today that I'm aware of. So our next meeting is March 25th, 9 a.m. And with that, we will adjourn. I don't need a motion to adjourn. Have a great day, everybody.